this video, I just decided to use this Illo sketchbook that I've had for quite some time. I've tested a lot of things on it, and it just can't handle it. It's like watercolors, inks, my Tombow markers, just a bunch of stuff. It just not good for that. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just use it with some of my markers and things like that. So yeah, here I am just sketching a character of mine. I ended up drawing just this random guy from a story, and yeah, I just kind of had this outfit thing in mind for sandstorms in this desert place where everything connects so the wind can't blow it away. Right there, I was just trying to see what my camera could see. It was actually turned and I could not see the viewfinder at all. So I'm surprised that most of this video is 1 in frame and 2 actually in focus. I think the only thing is toward the end. It definitely was not in focus, and I cut a bunch of that out. Luckily it was nothing crazy important, but a bit of a shame. And there was this issue with his leg. Right here, it's not that bad, or at least it doesn't look that bad to me. And mind you, you're viewing it at an angle, so everything's kind of off. Like, his upper body is going to end up looking bigger because it's closer to the camera. But it just ends up weirdly long, and I have no idea. I don't know if that's a trick from the robe, or if that's something to do with a mistake I made. Maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe I followed a line that I tried erasing. I have no idea. Maybe while I'm watching this back, I can figure it out with you. So right there you can see on my iPod screen that I had drawn this sketch trying to figure out how this would work. So the cloak connects with these circlets that go on the wrist and around the boots. And then goggles go on, and there's a leather strip that buckles in front of the face, holding up the little part that covers the nose, and then keeping the hood on. Yeah, just using a micron. I think I just used one that was way too big for this, personally. I usually draw quite small, and I'd gotten some pens for Christmas that I thought were marker proof. And they're not, which is fine, they'll work with other things, not a crazy big deal, but I guess I forgot that I already have some that work. I didn't even use them not long ago to show you guys, but yeah, I did not use them for this. Which just sucked. I think it would have been better if I'd used thinner lines. Even if I had done the cloak, I think thick, and then went ahead and with my small pens to do some of the details, especially on his face and in the hair and things like that. I think it would have turned out so much better, just worlds better. But that's okay. Can't win them all. And then you can see on the side I've got a bunch of really old pro markers. Those ones and those grays, I think I've mentioned before, but they're the first markers I ever got, so they're ancient. They're very, very old. Obviously, this was back when Letraset had them. And I learned how to... Actually, I used to watch a bunch of videos on YouTube of these ladies who would, I guess, color in stamps and things like that. I'm like, hey, these chicks know what they're doing. They know how to color, so that's actually what I learned from, and they were usually using the pro markers, which were significantly cheaper than the Copics, so I just went ahead and bought a bunch of those. Not a giant set or anything, a small little set. One of them that I got was already dry when I first got the pack, and then now I'm kind of running out of a bunch of colors, which is a super big shame because they have most of the skin tones and things that I like. And as I was coloring this, I started realizing that a bunch of my favorites are running out of ink, so it's a shame. Maybe when it's my work time of the year, I will be able to buy some new markers or something. Some skin tones. Or I'll just keep doing watercolors or, you know, black and white or whatever. Grays. There's plenty of other options without having to spend more money. Originally, this video was, I think it was about 1 hour and 20 minutes, which isn't too bad, and most of that was a lot of pausing and getting up and letting our dog out of the room and then letting him back in and things like that, so that was pretty easy to cut off, but I was not expecting this to end up as short as it did. But I guess most of the time I do end up taking 2.5 to 3 hours of video. It was not going to work this time because I did not have the time. Sorry if I sound a little bit out of breath. I have a horrible catch or something in my ribs and breathing feels so terrible. So I am trying to get this through without sounding like I ran a mile, but it's a little rough today. I really like to ink and also just sketch fabric. I'm not super great at it, but I really like, I don't know, you can almost feel it when you're drawing it. Because you can do a lot of swoops and little gathered bits and things like that, and they flow into one another, and I really like that. Even though I think maybe I went a little crazy on the folds here, I still enjoyed drawing it, so that's alright. I do end up actually thickening these lines up a lot on the outside. I really like how that looks, just adding some line weight, and I think it pulls your eyes into the middle where most of the detail is. Maybe that's why it's so popular and why it looks so nice. Yeah, right down there with my pro markers. I also have this little set of like studio brush markers. I really like those quite a bit, but the set I got was like the illustration set or something. And they don't make refills as far as I'm aware for some of the colors, and you can't rebuy them, so that's a shame. I wish I'd known that before I bought them. But that's what I used for a bunch of the brown for the cloak and things. They are juicy, juicy boys. Man, he's just got a crazy scarecrow leg. Might be because I covered up kind of where his pelvis shifts. So it doesn't have that space, doesn't have that tilt. So it just makes it look like it's all leg. Trying to add some fancy boy occlusion, shadows. So there you can see it where the camera is seeing it almost flat. I just go crazy with this marker. Ooh, I get out of the lines. I don't know what I was doing. I had no control. That marker was so juicy. It was really nice. I don't like the paper very much. Like I said, it doesn't work with a lot of things, but I learned how to use marker on just cardstock, so I'm very used to how that feels. And the second that I kind of move off to another paper, and I've never used proper marker paper before, I will say that, but it just felt weird. Like, I wish I could explain properly, but I'm used to it kind of bleeding in, everything kind of smooths together because it's all wet, and I don't have such a short window to put my light color in and have it all blend. So I didn't feel like I had a huge window for these, and it I don't know, it wasn't as nice and intuitive as I felt like cardstock was and is for me. My fail at trying to show you what that color is. I think it's praline or something like that. Very nice. Yeah, I'm not saying they look horrible on this paper. Definitely not my favorite. The ink wasn't horrible either, but because the paper is so smooth, it doesn't have much of a tooth to it. It feels like the ink kind of sits more on this paper rather than like go into it. I don't know how to explain it, but it just felt weird. Just not my favorite. Originally, I was going to draw my character Raven once again, and then I just had in my head the picture that I'd drawn on my board at the kitchen table. I just really like the weird robe things, I don't know, so I just decided that's what I was going to do. I kind of regret it, but it's okay. It definitely opened my eyes to how many markers I have that are dying. And then with these gloves, I do go over the top of these colors again in that light brown color, just to make them less of that red. I think that marker right there is putty. And I really like it, it's super great, but it definitely needed to calm down. So I just added the brown over the top and it looked much nicer. I was testing all of my markers and pencils and everything up in the corner. Actually, there was a horrible moment where his face just started to bleed, and I had to fix it. I wasn't super mad. I'm like, whatever, I can just say his face is dirty. It would be. He's out in the dirt. And I decided to give him this really bright red hair. I really like this color. I cannot remember what it's called, but it is glorious. It super reminds me of Renji Abadai from Bleach, and that dude, We'll just leave it at Dig the red hair. Definitely liked it. And at first I wasn't really sure about the two that I chose to color it with, but by the end I had made peace with it, and I still think it looks pretty nice. I do add color pencil to this. I just thought it would add texture. Speaking of texture, I just now know how I say that from watching my own videos. Oh my gosh, it's so Southwest and nobody told me. There I am going in with colored pencil. I usually mix colored pencil a lot for skin tones. So I went ahead and I did this brown, I think a little bit of indigo, regular purple, some yellows, things like that, and it looks really good. And then right here I was just brightening the edges of this up to make it stand out because the cloak was all melding together. This is where I took it out of focus. So whoops. I was just adding some white, and I do a little bit of rim light towards the back edge, and I think it looks really nice. So I'm glad I did that. I had to get my Prismacolor, my separate one that I use for highlights, because the one that came in the Prismacolor container didn't go so well. So here's a little finished thing. And I do have a complete one here in a minute. Yep, so all finished. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day or night, and bye.